we all pretty much we all pretty much know about the Marvel universe. We watch movies like Avengers, Captain America, Guardian of the Galaxy. So we all pretty much have an understanding of how the Marvel movies are. So we all know about we all know characters such as the patriotic and humble Captain America. We know the wise and witty Iron Man, and we know the almighty Thor, but they all have two things in common. Number one is that they are mostly males, and number two is that they are mostly white. So imagine if that really wasn't the case. Imagine if Thor was a woman. Imagine if Captain America was African American. Right now, Marvel is creating a whole different universe where they are creating a complete diversity and changing what was original. I love watching movies. I love working at Disney, and I love Marvel. But once I started working there, they gave me a huge insight of how Marvel will be later on in the future, how completely diverse it will be. And ever since then, I've been researching about Marvel, what's going to happen, and I gained a lot of information about it. We're constantly exposed to media. Media is what shapes our society today. We look up to superheroes who want to be like them, but how could we be like them when they're not really too similar to us? The world we live in is not really equal to the ideal world of what it is right now. Right now, we are the largest city where we are completely diverse in culture, religion, gender, and right now, today, I'll be talking about Disney's role in change. I will be talking about the changes in Marvel, and I'll basically talk about the fan reactions. Did Walt Disney Company really make that much of an impact in the Marvel world? Well, first off, in August 2009, they bought the Marvel for $4 billion. They expanded this audience because it used to be really female-based because they're mostly princess movies. And now they basically, ever since they bought Marvel, they expanded male audience also. Marvel used to have its own fan base. They used to have their own fan where they used to look up to them, and now they moved to Disney's audience, so Disney has basically doubled the amount of fans. And Disney has its own hidden agenda. They promote diversity, they promote straight gay alliances, they've been having racially diverse princesses like Princess and the Frog, for example. And it's not really a surprise that they're trying to incorporate this into the Marvel world. So we've been talking a lot about changes, but what exactly changed? So I'll give you 3 examples. Number 1 is Captain America. The person that will be acting as Captain America will be a man named Samuel Wilson. For those who don't know who Samuel Wilson is, he is basically the Falcon. He is basically Captain America's ally, his right-hand man. And he will be taking over the role of Captain America ever since Captain America later on has his death in the future. The Marvel series editor Tom Prigood says, while Sam shares many of Steve's beliefs in general sense, he is also very different in background. He didn't grow up in the 1930s. He's a modern day with problems in the 21st century. The second person in the example I'll be talking about is Thor. So they're planning to make Thor into a woman. The story behind this is that the Guardian of the Galaxy antagonist named Thanos, if you guys know by any chance, he whispers something into Thor's ear which makes him lose his ability to use his hammer, to use his power, to use his strength. And the person that will be taking over this specific role is a woman named Jane Foster. For those who don't know who Jane Foster is basically Thor's girlfriend, if you guys remember. And the Marvel editor Jason Aaron stated, "This is not She-Thor, this is not Lady Thor, this is not Thorita, this is Thor. This is the Thor in the Marvel Universe. It's still the same character." The third example will be the type of changes in crossing boundaries with, will basically be X-Men. X-Men is a complete diverse group, and they are starting to promote gay marriage. Northstar, this is a picture of Northstar, a mutant, and a normal man named Kyle. A man named Axel Alonso, Marvel editor-in-chief, stated, "The Marvel Universe has always reflected the world outside your window. So we must strive to make sure our characters, relationship, and stories grounded in that reality happens." So ever since gay marriage has been legalized, part of our reality in the world gets incorporated inside X-Men, like right now. These types of changes and crossing boundaries with changes, there'll be reactions of fans, both good and bad. So some say they aren't really for changes yet, but when is a good time? The world is currently moving forward now, and we have to basically deal with that. Throughout my research, there was a 50-50 chance in the change. A lot of people were okay with it, a lot of people weren't okay with it. Some blame the Walt Disney Company. Some people call this action pondering. Throughout these tweets, you could basically see that they kind of do blame Walt Disney Company for this, when it really isn't. And those who aren't really big fans of the change are kind of okay with it, but they're still a little bit iffy about it. For example, one of them complained that they're okay with Captain America being African American because they fought for the red, white, and blue, but they're not really okay with Thor being a woman. So, comic books are constantly evolving and changing our life, and the pace of the world is evolving and changing today. Whether we love it or hate it, it will happen. Disney has a huge impact in our society today, especially when it comes to diversity. We have many changes, Marvel changes, and these characters will be set in stone. Even if the fans complain, Disney will be achieving its goal. And that is to promote diversity throughout everything they do. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think you have a solid reference to the Marvel Universe in the introduction. You stumbled a little bit while you were getting started, but that's okay. You straighten it. You don't have to apologize. It's just one of those things. I think a little practice probably would help things. I think you've got the content structured. You've got good information. You're not always you give us a reasonable amount of context for things. So I think you're doing a good job on that. So content-wise, I think you're very solid. Delivery, for the most part, I thought that you are doing good things. You are pretty animated when you're speaking to us. Your facial expressions are. You've got some indicators while you're speaking, so some subtle gestures to kind of get things going. You do have a tendency to kind of shift and pivot on your weight and your body. You know, it's like you're swinging on your foot, turning back and forth kind of thing, because you keep going to the screen, and I think that you do that a little bit too much, so you want to be careful about that. Your eye contact, I think, is relatively good, except I think you're more dependent on your notes than you want to be for this presentation. And when you look up, you do a good job making contact with people, but you are frequently looking down at the notes, trying to remind yourself. And I think you'd be better off if you just had a sketchier outline, much more limited to the main points, bullet points, if you will, so that you are less tempted to read things. For example, I didn't really have a lot of problems with pronunciation issues, but I could tell that your reading when you use the word pondering instead of pandering in that one situation. I'm going, he's probably just reading something that he wrote, and it doesn't look right. So he said that, and I said, I'm sure he knows that it's pandering, but maybe he doesn't. But still, it's one of those things where when you're not looking at what's written there, you would just say what you were saying. It would be easier for you to come across that way. The pace, I think, is the one thing that is a little problematic. It feels a little slow at times, sort of like you are hesitating as you're going along. You got better as in the middle of the speech, but I think it slowed down a little bit at the end of the speech too. So a little bit more consistency on that. Like I said, Gesundheit, maybe a little bit more practice. And spoiler alert, holy criminy, apparently Captain America dies. Yeah. Damn.